Ed is a former science teacher and head of chemistry based in London, focusing on raising standards. In 2018, he entered the world of storytelling and filmmaking before starting Empathy Week in 2020 and served as their CEO.
Thanks, Adam. And I promise I didn't pay Uta to speak so amazingly about developing skills in young people. And I really want to sort of play a little bit off of the back of what Claire said about vulnerability as well. My background, I'll be quick because I know time's ticking and I love to talk like most teachers, but my background is that I was teaching in North London, like most sort of inner city sort of schools, lots of different backgrounds, cultures, and I realized that I was in a very heavily academic subject, but actually without empathy, and I didn't call it empathy at the time, but without trying to understand students and try and build those really strong relationships, learning wasn't going to happen anyway in the first place. And so I guess really tonight I want to talk about just like that key important element of education and what we can be doing as leaders for ourselves, as well as for our students, as well as for our colleagues and other teachers and educators, whether you're in or out the classroom, is leading by example, role modeling in a world which seems to be lacking quite a lot of empathy at the moment. And what I do now is essentially try and help schools and help educators develop that skill. It's something that I think is difficult to do over time, difficult to do because it takes time, it takes conscious effort, and it takes a desire to do it. But if you do it, you can build unstoppable relationships. Really, when we're talking about those skills, Uta was talking about like creating great leaders. And the reason we focus on empathy is because we've identified that without empathy, you don't have the best leadership. So if you think about leadership, communication, resilience, innovation, the ability to problem solve, all of these skills rely on a foundation of empathy at the heart of it. And we talk about self-empathy as well as empathy for others. So for me, self-empathy is not self-love. It's about understanding. If you take empathy as a one-word synonym, self-empathy for me is when I do go around the world filming. I've just come back from Mexico from 7 weeks of filming there, and I've been to Nepal and India and the UK, filming all over. I have to recognize that myself, I have bias in the way that I edit films, that actually I have the viewpoint of a straight white male born in the UK, born into essentially privilege, and that I have to identify that element of me in the way that I think so that I can empathize with other people in a better way. And people always say to me, oh, how do you develop this skill of empathy? How do you keep the ball rolling? How do you do it? And ultimately, it comes down to increasing the amount and the diversity of experiences that we have. So think of it kind of like a comfort zone. I always think of like it as an empathy zone. Push yourself out, speak to someone that you otherwise wouldn't have. Maybe it's different culture, religion. And this is difficult when we're in schools and we're so pressured as going up the leadership ladder. Your time is more constrained than ever. I think actually it's a super difficult thing to do. So what we've been trying to do in Empathy Week, I'm going into our 5th year now, it's not a sales pitch because it's free, is produce a week-long festival of events. We have this year coming up everything focused around our theme of home, different people speaking on demand, as well as some live CPD, as well as some film assemblies and even some in-person events. If you're in London, you should definitely get involved because we've got an event with Canva, we've got an event with Snapchat as well, and we're also running a 400 student event at ACS Cobham International School, which is open to years 4 to year 7. Anyway, I'm going to be quiet because I would love to, if possible, Ben, to just show the 55-second trailer just so that people can visualize what I've been saying. And thank you to Uta and Claire in particular for talking about vulnerability and empathy, because I think it's something that, of course, academics are important, but without the foundation of that, we are not going to create great humans. So here's the 1-minute trailer. There you go. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you can develop empathy this year, and would love to connect with anyone that is also wants to talk about my journey after teaching and staying in education, as well as Empathy Week coming up. But yeah, hope you can join in.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed. That was a fantastic talk and so inspiring to hear about Empathy Week. Sounds like an amazing week with fantastic resources. So please do check out that website, check out those events if you are in London. But I think it's so vital, isn't it? If we want to create the culture, the right culture in our schools, it's got to come from relationships. And you're absolutely right. Those relationships come from understanding the empathy. And I think I love that idea of that empathy, your own empathy, is about that knowledge of yourself, and that knowledge of yourself can so then move forward to your knowledge of others, and it's so important. And I think after COVID, and I think we're seeing this in a lot of schools, unfortunately we've seen a degradation of that in terms of that empathy as a nation as well, the way the nation is, the way the world is. So it's fantastic that you are doing your part to try and get that message out there and give children those really vital empathetic skills, so that we can create the correct cultures in our schools, which hopefully will feed into our society. So thank you so much for that fantastic work that you do, Ed. I would love to hear about your job, because I'd love to travel around the world and filming those things. I don't know how you're doing that. So, but no, really great. And we look forward to speaking to you in our Q&A. So thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Nikki.